The underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. And
I'm sorry?
yes. So we have built an extraordinary number of underground bases.
They weren't raised from the ground up. They were revealed when the Earth gave up its secrets. Across the world, archaeologists have uncovered vast underground cities, temples, and tunnels that no one even knew existed. These structures weren't built in the traditional sense. They were carved directly into the earth and hidden for centuries. What's being found beneath the surface is changing everything we thought we knew about ancient engineering and civilization. Keep watching, because every discovery beneath the ground brings us closer to the lost chapters of human history. The accidental discoveries. Imagine knocking down a wall in your basement and finding yourself staring into darkness. You grab a flashlight, peer inside, and realize you've stumbled upon something ancient, massive, and completely unexpected. This happened in Turkey in 1963, when a man in the town of Derinkuyu was doing home renovations. He swung a sledgehammer at his basement wall, and instead of hitting solid rock, the wall crumbled away to reveal a tunnel. That tunnel led to more tunnels, which opened into chambers, halls, and passages carved deep into the earth. What this anonymous homeowner had discovered was nothing short of extraordinary.
We are in Derinkuyu, Turkey, near Cappadocia. Below our feet, there is the world's largest underground city, which made the history books rewritten.
The Derinkuyu underground city is one of the largest and deepest subterranean complexes ever found. It extends down 85 meters into the earth, spanning 18 levels, and could shelter up to 20,000 people along with their livestock and food stores. The city was completely self-sufficient underground, featuring everything from wine presses and stables to chapels and schools. Ventilation shafts, numbering over 15,000, were carved throughout the structure to provide fresh air down to the 8th level. The discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Here was an entire city that had been occupied for centuries, used as protection during invasions and persecution, yet somehow it had been completely forgotten and sealed off from the world above. The last inhabitants had abandoned it in 1923, and within 40 years, even the memory of its existence had faded. The man with the sledgehammer had single-handedly unearthed one of Turkey's greatest archaeological treasures by accident. But Derinkuyu wasn't alone. The Cappadocia region of Turkey is dotted with over 200 underground settlements, carved into the soft volcanic rock called tuff. This rock, formed from ancient volcanic ash, was perfect for excavation because it was easy to carve yet structurally sound enough to support massive chambers. Some experts believe the Hittites started digging these refuges around 2000 BCE, while others credit the Phrygians around 700 BCE. What we do know is that early Christians expanded these underground networks between the 6th and 10th centuries CE, using them as hiding places during Arab invasions and later during Mongol raids. The Chinese enigma. On the other side of the world, in China's Zhejiang province, another accidental discovery has baffled scientists for over 3 decades. In 1992, a farmer named Wu Anai grew tired of local legends claiming that certain ponds in his village of Longyou were bottomless. These weren't ordinary ponds, locals said. They were mysteriously deep, and nobody knew what lay beneath the dark water. Wu Anai decided to find out the truth. He pooled money with his neighbors, bought a water pump, and began draining one of the ponds. For 17 days, the pump ran continuously. As the water level dropped, something remarkable emerged from the darkness. The pond wasn't a natural formation at all. It was the flooded entrance to a massive hand-carved cave system. When Wu Anai drained more ponds in the area, he discovered a total of 24 enormous caverns that became known as the Longyou Caves. Each cave descends approximately 30 meters underground and features intricate architectural elements including stone rooms, bridges, gutters, and pools. The walls, ceilings, and supporting pillars are covered in uniform chisel marks arranged in parallel lines, creating a consistent pattern throughout all the caves. These aren't random scratches or natural formations. They're deliberate, precise, and would have required immense manpower and countless hours to create. The scale of the project is staggering. Archaeologists estimate that nearly 1 million cubic meters of stone were excavated to create these caverns. If 1,000 workers labored day and night, it would have taken them approximately 6 years to complete. Yet here's where the mystery deepens. Not a single piece of excavated rock has been found in the surrounding area. No tools have been discovered. No historical documents mention their construction. And strangest of all, when the caves were drained, they contained no fish or signs of life, unlike the genuinely deep natural ponds common throughout southern China. The Longyou Caves are believed to be at least 2,000 years old, possibly dating back to the Warring States period or Qin dynasty. Some researchers speculate they could be even older. The purpose of these magnificent structures remains completely unknown. Were they storage facilities, military bunkers, religious temples, royal palaces? Without any archaeological evidence or historical records, scientists from around the world in fields ranging from archaeology to engineering have been unable to explain how they were built, by whom, or why. The caves are often called the ninth wonder of the ancient world in China, and the mystery surrounding them only grows deeper with each passing year. India's flooded temple. In the ancient city of Hampi, India, a UNESCO World Heritage Site filled with over 1,600 monuments, lies a temple that remained buried and forgotten for over 400 years. The Prasanna Virupaksha Temple, also known as the underground Shiva Temple, was finally unearthed in the 1980s during excavations of the Vijayanagara ruins. What makes this temple truly unique is that it was deliberately built below ground level, and today, most of the structure remains submerged in water throughout the year. The temple dates back to the 14th century CE and was constructed during the reign of the Vijayanagara Empire. Historical inscriptions reveal that the powerful ruler Krishnadevaraya donated extensively to this temple, suggesting it held significant importance. Its location near the royal quarters indicates that it may have served as a private place of worship for the royal family, away from the public eye and the grand temples that dominated Hampi's skyline. The architectural design follows the traditional Vijayanagara style, with a main hall, inner sanctum, and pillared corridors. The roof of the temple is at ground level, while the actual structure extends deep into the earth. To enter, visitors must descend a series of steps that lead them into an increasingly cooler atmosphere, a welcome relief from the intense heat that blankets Hampi for most of the year. But here's what makes this temple particularly mysterious. The inner sanctum remains flooded year-round. According to local theories, water from the Tungabhadra River flows through underground channels into the temple. During the monsoon season, when the dam water is released, the water level rises dramatically, making most of the temple completely inaccessible. Even during summer, visitors must wade through knee-deep water to reach the innermost chambers, where bats have made their home in the darkness. The original idol of Lord Shiva that once stood in the inner sanctum has disappeared, leaving only an empty pedestal. Some believe it was removed for safekeeping when the Vijayanagara Empire fell in 1565. Others speculate it was lost when the temple was buried. The mystery of why this temple was built underground, why it floods, and what happened to its sacred idol remains unsolved. Some researchers suggest it was connected to Naga worship, as numerous serpent stones have been found in the area. The temple's deliberate submersion beneath the earth adds another layer to Hampi's already fascinating history. England's Shell Mystery. In 1835, in the seaside town of Margate, England, a man named James Newlove was making renovations to his recently purchased property, Bellevue Cottage. His workers were digging in the field when a laborer thrust his spade into the soil, and it simply vanished into the ground. Newlove lowered his young son Joshua down the mysterious hole with a candle and a length of rope. What the boy described when he was pulled back up seemed almost impossible to believe. Beneath the ordinary English countryside lay a spectacular underground passageway, approximately 70 feet long, with its walls and ceiling completely covered in shells. Not just a few shells, but 4.6 million shells arranged in intricate mosaic patterns, covering roughly 2,000 square feet of surface area. The passageway winds through the earth before opening into a rectangular chamber known as the altar room, and features a domed rotunda where patterns of shells create mesmerizing designs. The shell grotto was opened to the public in 1838, and immediately people began asking questions that nobody could answer. Who built this extraordinary place? When was it created? What was its purpose? Nearly 200 years later, we still don't have definitive answers to any of these questions. The grotto contains no inscriptions, no dates, no signatures, and no tools that might hint at its creator's identity. The shells themselves are mostly local species, including mussels, cockles, whelks, limpets, scallops, and oysters. However, some areas feature Caribbean queen conchs, which adds to the mystery. The patterns include elaborate floral designs that might symbolize life and fertility, geometric shapes, and 19 small stone hearts hidden among the shells, perhaps representing love or devotion. Some researchers believe the alignment of the dome and the way sunlight enters could indicate it was designed as an astronomical calendar. Multiple theories have emerged over the years. Some suggest it was a rich man's folly, a decorative structure built in the 18th or 19th century for entertainment. Others propose it was a secret meeting place for a mystical society, or even the Knights Templar. A few researchers have speculated it could be thousands of years old, possibly created by Phoenicians in the first millennium BCE, though this seems unlikely given the Gothic style of the arches. The most puzzling aspect is this. If the grotto was built in the 1700s or 1800s, transporting millions of shells to the site and creating these intricate mosaics would have required many workers and taken considerable time. How could such a massive project be completed in an open field next to a busy track without anyone noticing or remembering it? And why has no local legend or memory of its construction survived? The Roman tragedy. Perhaps the most famous example of a city that was buried and later unearthed is Pompeii. On August 24th in the year 79 CE, Mount Vesuvius erupted with catastrophic force, burying the Roman city of Pompeii and several surrounding settlements under meters of volcanic ash and pumice.
On August 24th, 79 CE, Mount Vesuvius erupts with the force of an atomic bomb, burying the Roman city of Pompeii under 20 feet of ash and preserving it exactly as it was 2,000 years ago.
The eruption killed an estimated 2,000 people, though most of the city's 12,000 residents managed to flee. What remained was a city frozen in time, preserved in volcanic debris for nearly 1,700 years. The existence of Pompeii wasn't completely forgotten. Ancient writers like Pliny the Younger documented the disaster, and Renaissance scholars were aware of the city's fate through historical texts. But its exact location became lost to memory as the landscape changed dramatically. The city that had once been on the coast now lay buried beneath layers of ash, no longer visible, and the coastline itself had shifted. The first accidental rediscovery occurred in 1594, when architect Domenico Fontana was constructing an underground aqueduct. His workers uncovered ancient walls decorated with paintings and inscriptions, but remarkably, nobody seemed particularly interested. These discoveries were largely ignored, and no follow-up exploration took place for another 150 years. It wasn't until 1748 that serious excavations began under the direction of Spanish engineer Roque Joaquín de Alcubierre. Early excavations were more like treasure hunting expeditions than scientific archaeology. Workers tunneled through the site, extracting valuable objects while keeping no records of where items were found. Murals were cut from walls, statues were hauled away to royal palaces, and entire sections were excavated and then refilled to prevent houses above from collapsing. It was archaeological chaos that destroyed countless historical contexts and valuable information. The situation improved in 1860 when Italian archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli became director of excavations. He implemented systematic methods, divided the city into 9 regions, and numbered each building so structures could be properly cataloged and located. Fiorelli also developed the technique that would become Pompeii's most haunting legacy, creating plaster casts of the victims. He discovered that when the volcanic ash hardened around the bodies and they eventually decomposed, hollow cavities remained in the shape of the deceased. By carefully pouring plaster into these voids, he created casts that captured people in their final moments, preserving expressions of terror, desperation, and resignation. The excavation of Pompeii revealed an entire Roman city complete with homes, shops, public baths, theaters, temples, and even a brothel. The level of preservation was extraordinary. Bread was found still in ovens. Wall graffiti preserved casual conversations and vulgar jokes. Frescoes retained their vibrant colors.
A banquet hall 15 meters long and 6 meters wide, with mosaics on the floor and small frescoes on the walls. The paintings are remarkably well preserved. Lanterns used during banquets would make them appear to come to life.
The ruins provided an unprecedented window into daily Roman life, showing not just grand public buildings, but the intimate details of how ordinary people lived, worked, and died. Today, approximately 2/3 of Pompeii has been excavated, though about 1/3 remains buried. Recent excavations in previously unexplored areas continue to yield remarkable discoveries, including intact homes with stunning frescoes, complete horse skeletons in stables, and the remains of families who tried desperately to survive. The site receives approximately 2.5 million visitors annually and stands as one of the most important archaeological sites in the world, offering what UNESCO calls the only archaeological site in the world that provides a complete picture of an ancient Roman city. Why buildings get buried? This raises a fascinating question. Why do so many ancient structures end up buried underground? The answer is more complex than you might think, and it involves a combination of natural processes, human activity, and the simple passage of time. Natural disasters play a significant role. Pompeii is the most dramatic example, where volcanic ash buried an entire city in a matter of hours. But other natural events can also cover ancient structures. Floods deposit layers of silt and sediment. Earthquakes can cause buildings to collapse and be covered by rubble. In jungle regions like those where Mayan cities stood, vegetation can completely overtake abandoned structures within decades, creating mounds that look like natural hills until archaeologists begin digging. Wind and weather gradually deposit dust, soil, and organic matter over centuries. Even in relatively dry climates, millimeters of accumulation each year add up to meters of coverage over millennia. Ancient cities in desert regions have been found buried under sand dunes that formed over hundreds of years of wind-driven erosion and deposition. But the most common reason ancient buildings end up underground is surprisingly mundane. Humans simply built on top of them. When cities grow and evolve, people don't typically clear away all the rubble from old buildings. Instead, they level the ground by filling in with demolition waste and earth, creating what archaeologists call made ground. New streets and buildings are constructed on top of this artificial layer, and over generations, the process repeats. In cities like Rome and London, this layering effect is particularly visible. Roman streets and buildings lie meters below modern street level, buried under centuries of accumulated debris, construction fill, and urban development. Each generation built upon the ruins of the previous one, gradually elevating the ground level while the oldest structures sank deeper into the earth. Sometimes buildings were deliberately buried. In times of war, people would bury their structures to hide them from invading armies. Underground cities like Derinkuyu served as refuges, deliberately concealed from enemies above. Religious and cultural practices in various civilizations also involved burying temples and sacred structures, either as part of rituals or to preserve them from perceived spiritual threats. Abandoned structures often suffer a slow burial. When a building is no longer maintained, its roof eventually collapses, walls crumble, and the ruins become a depression that naturally collects wind-blown soil and debris. Over time, these depressions fill in, and vegetation takes root, further accelerating the burial process. Within a few hundred years, a substantial building can become little more than a suspicious mound in the landscape. The science of finding lost cities. Modern archaeology has developed sophisticated techniques for locating buried structures without digging. Ground-penetrating radar sends electromagnetic pulses into the earth and measures how they bounce back, revealing density changes that might indicate walls, chambers, or artifacts below the surface. LiDAR technology, which uses laser scanning, has revolutionized archaeology by penetrating dense jungle canopy to reveal the outlines of ancient cities hidden beneath vegetation. Satellite imagery and aerial photography can detect subtle variations in vegetation, soil color, and ground elevation that hint at buried structures. Crops growing over buried walls often show different colors or growth patterns than those in surrounding areas because the soil depth and moisture content vary. These crop marks have led to countless discoveries of previously unknown sites. Magnetometry measures variations in the Earth's magnetic field caused by buried features like kilns, hearths, or iron-rich materials. Resistivity surveying measures how easily electrical current flows through the ground, which varies depending on the presence of stone structures, voids, or moisture differences. These non-invasive techniques allow archaeologists to create detailed maps of what lies beneath the surface before any excavation begins. When archaeologists do dig, they work with painstaking precision. Every layer of soil is carefully removed and examined. The exact location of every artifact is recorded in 3 dimensions. Soil samples are collected for analysis. Modern excavations are nothing like the treasure hunting expeditions of the past. Today's archaeologists understand that the context of a discovery is often more valuable than the object itself. Dating techniques have also advanced dramatically. Radiocarbon dating can determine the age of organic materials up to about 50,000 years old. Thermoluminescence dating measures when pottery or stone was last heated. Dendrochronology uses tree ring patterns to date wooden structures with remarkable precision. DNA analysis of ancient remains provides information about population movements, diseases, and even family relationships. Preservation is a constant challenge. Ironically, many structures that survived for millennia buried underground begin deteriorating rapidly once exposed to air, light, moisture, and temperature fluctuations. The famous cave paintings at Lascaux in France had to be closed to visitors because human breath was causing them to deteriorate. Conservation efforts now focus as much on protecting what has been found as on finding new sites. Mysterious structures around the world. The world is filled with unearthed structures that continue to puzzle researchers. The Hypogeum of Malta is a massive underground temple complex carved from limestone around 3600 BCE, predating Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids. Its chambers are famous for their acoustic properties, and one room, known as the Oracle Chamber,
in 1902, construction workers digging a well in Palo, Malta, accidentally punched through the ceiling of a hidden underground chamber. What they had stumbled upon wasn't just any cave.
amplifies sound to such a degree that a whisper can be heard throughout the entire complex. Chavandahuantar in Peru features an elaborate underground system of passages, galleries, and chambers built around 900 BCE. The complex includes remarkable stone carvings and ventilation shafts that create eerie sounds when wind passes through them, which may have been used for ceremonial purposes to create the illusion of a supernatural presence. The Basilica Cistern in Istanbul, Turkey, was built in 532 CE to to store water for the Great Palace. This underground chamber features 336 marble columns arranged in 12 rows, creating a forest of stone beneath the city streets. The cistern was forgotten for centuries after the conquest of Constantinople, and locals only rediscovered it when they noticed they could draw water by lowering buckets through holes in their basement floors. Some even caught fish that lived in the dark waters below. Newgrange in Ireland is a Stone Age passage tomb that dates back to around 3200 BCE, making it older than both Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids. The structure was buried under the earth and forgotten until its excavation in the 17th century. The most remarkable feature is that during the winter solstice, sunlight enters through a specially designed roof box and illuminates the burial chamber, a feat of astronomical engineering that remains impressive 5,000 years later. The terracotta army in China wasn't a building, but rather 8,000 life-sized clay soldiers buried with China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, around 210 BCE. The massive underground necropolis was discovered by farmers digging a well in 1974. The emperor's actual tomb remains unexcavated and sealed, but historical records describe it as containing rivers of mercury and a vast underground palace. The terracotta warriors represent just a tiny fraction of what may lie beneath the burial mound. The discoveries of places like Derinkuyu, the Longyou Caves, and the Shell Grotto show that history is still unfolding. Beneath the ground we walk on, entire cities and ancient structures remain hidden, waiting to be found. Many great discoveries have come by accident, through people simply repairing homes or investigating local stories. These sites were once built to serve communities and reflect human skill, but time and nature buried them. As they are rediscovered, they expand our understanding of civilization and reveal that much of humanity's past is still waiting to be uncovered. So here's my question for you. What do you think is the most fascinating mystery about these unearthed structures? Do you believe there are even more incredible discoveries still waiting beneath our feet? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.